This week, I'm going to take a look at Venom. I think he's the perfect Vanguard to be playing this season due to being probably the strongest dive tank in the game and his team up with Spider-Man. He can output a lot of damage and he's extremely hard to kill. So let me break down the abilities and we'll see what kind of damage he can do. Firstly, his auto attack. So this is dealt in 4 different sections from the 4 tentacles that come out from Venom's shoulders and his torso. So he can attack from 15 meters away, and each tentacle can do 20 damage, right? But before the penny changes, Venom's the only tank in the game that can headshot, do critical damage. So each of these attacks can do double damage. They can do 40 damage. So if you're hitting your shots on Venom, one auto attack can do 160 damage. So you need to get good at tracking, you need to get good at aiming for the head, and you need to make sure you're not right up in their face, because the tentacles are a lot harder to hit when you're on top of someone, and when you're in a sweet spot of about 10 to 15 meters, the tentacles start to converge on your crosshair, so it's a lot easier to sort of make sure you're hitting the right point with your auto attack. The other thing is there's sort of like a second delay between your auto attacks coming out. So if you watch this here, I can auto attack melee, auto attack melee, auto attack melee, and you just sort of want to be weaving it in between. But you see, there's the problem of if I'm on top of this Star-Lord, I can't hit him. Basically, all of my auto attacks are going around him. So I see a lot of people on Venom trying to get in someone's face, but you want to be making sure you're about 10 meters away and your tentacles are going where your crosshair is, you know? It makes it a lot easier to get your full damage off. So Venom's alternative fire is a tether that attaches itself to the target. And this is a really useful ability and the one you want to be using as soon as you dive in. It has an 8 meter radius, and if the target leaves an 11 meter radius, then it will break the tether. So you need to make sure you're staying on top of people. But that is made a lot easier because the 3 seconds that the tether is attached, the target has a 15% slow. So you can make sure you're always on top of people, always doing the right amount of damage to finish them off. The tether does an initial 5 damage when it hits, and after the 3 seconds it will pop and do 80 damage, which is a lot of damage for a non-aimed ability. So Venom has 2 movement abilities, which is what makes him such a strong dive tank. And the first one's very simple. It's just a web swing, kind of like Spider-Man. So you can attach the web from 30 meters away, and it has an 8-second cooldown. So very simple. I would recommend going in the settings and turning off easy swing. This one down here, or turning on easy swing, sorry, because this makes sure that your web attaches to a good spot on the wall, that attaches to the best place that's going to allow you to swing. If you have the normal swing on, then you often will end up putting it in a bad spot and swinging into a wall, so it's very helpful. So the other thing you can do on Venom with his swing is you can bunny hop and gain massive momentum out of it. You can sort of see how the momentum carries over when you jump after you swing. Now, this is sort of bunny hopping from Counter-Strike and stuff. You probably need a scroll wheel jump. But you can make really fast rollouts and you can get huge distance across the map if you do this right. Now, the swing has a flat trajectory and it has a scoop trajectory. So if you aren't using the right part of the swing, you won't be able to get the momentum because your momentum will be going upwards. So you need to sort of practice it on areas where you're sort of moving horizontally instead of starting to move more vertically. So his second movement ability has a bit more to it, and you just saw me use it there on the Star-Lord, but I'll show you again. So the first thing you need to know is that it's a targeted dash from between 3 and 40 meters. So you can see when I'm in the air, it says F to diving strike next to my crosshair, and you'll see there's a little black spot on the ground, right? So this has a very long range, 40 meters away. So you can use it from really unexpected places, from high up, from on the roof. And basically what this does is you will dive onto a point on the ground, and it will hit everyone in a 6 meter radius, but the main damage of 65 damage will only be in a 2 meter radius in the center. So you can see here how I hit this Star-Lord for the full 65, whereas this guy on the outer rim got hit for, I don't know, just less than 50. So it scales down to 40% damage on the edge, right? So you got to make sure you're landing on top of people. And also the other effect you saw there, I'll show you one more time, is that the enemies are knocked into the center. So they're sort of pulled on top of where you land, which is really useful for like combining with your tether and also your ult, which I'll talk about later. Now, one thing I will say about these abilities is that I often see people using them wrong, right? I'll often see people swing through the fight high up into the air and look for a place to dive. And, you know, whilst this is a great way to cover ground, a great way to surprise people, you're using both your movement abilities in one go, and it leaves you stuck. Say if your shield's on cooldown, or if the whole enemy team turn to focus you. So the best way to use these abilities is to climb a wall, just your passive using space, get up high, and dive off the wall onto the ground, fight, use the shield, and then use your swing to get out. Because this is, you know, the most efficient way to keep yourself alive, keep pressure up, and you can just hide on the wall, get a few heals, wait for your shield and your swing to come off cooldown, and then rinse and repeat. And this is sort of the main gameplay loop on Venom. The only other gameplay loop you could really add in there is if you have your ult. So your ult also gives you a lot of shield, which I'll talk about in a bit. So you can, you know, stay in for a lot longer using your ult and survive for a longer amount of time. Say you dive in with your dash, you use the tether, you fight for a while, then you use your E and you carry on fighting, and then you can use your tether again and press Q, and your tether will stay on the target. You can move underground, and then you can jump back up and snap and eat them. And this will give you a huge amount of shield, and then you can, you know, potentially swing out or swing up and dive back in. So the ult adds more to the mix, but I'd say your main loop is dash in, tether, shield, swing out. Okay. Now for the shield, it's a very simple ability. So it gives you 100 health up front, just as a standard bonus health, and then it gives you 120% of your missing health as extra health on top of that. So imagine I'm at 300 health, which would mean I'm missing 500 of my health. So if I pop the shield when I was at 300 health, which is just a bit more than a third of health, that is going to give me 120% of the missing health. So it's going to give me 100%, which is the 500 that's missing, plus an extra 20%, which is another 100 health. So the shield is going to give me 600 plus the 100 flat health you get. So you'll be getting 700 health. So when Venom uses his ultimate, you dive under the ground for 4 seconds and gain 80% movement speed. And you can't be CC'd during this time, but you can take damage. So again, you do not want to be using this when you have like less than 200 or 300 health, because dying before you pop your ultimate is also just awful feeling of Venom. The damage the ultimate does is 50% of the target's current health, plus another 50 flat damage. So this does way more damage to higher health targets such as tanks, but the 50 flat damage also allows you to do a lot of damage to the 250, 275 heroes as well. When you activate the ultimate, or after the 4-second timer, you will snap up in a 7-meter radius, and you will gain a shield which is equal to 100% of the damage you've dealt. So this is Venom's second survivability tool. You can use the ultimate in one of two ways. You can attach your tether, go underground and snap up to deal high damage to people, or you can go underground, be able to move freely, move quickly, and then gain a huge shield when you come back out. So you can use it offensively or defensively again. So I'm going to show you a quick combo you can do with your ult, the offensive combo, which is going to deal a lot of damage and allow you to kill the lower health characters. This is sort of the dive tank combo. So what you're going to do, get somewhere high, you're going to use your dash to dive in, you're going to attach the tether, do a little bit of damage, and then you're going to go down into your ultimate, snap up and crunch them, and you're going to do the current health damage before the 80 damage from the tether pops, because the tether is the finisher here, and the tether slows them and allows you to hit the ult. They synergize very well, so I'll just run it for you. So you see there how, because I popped the ultimate before the tether popped, it does the current health damage, and it will do the 50 flat damage from the ult. But then it will, because the tether pops, it will do 80 damage on the pop, and they can't really escape the tether because they got the 15% slow, and whilst you're in ultimate, you're moving 80% quicker, so you can always keep the tether on top of them and then confirm the second part of it.